Hello, everyone. I hope everyone's having a great time at the conference so far and that you're enjoying this very thought-provoking talks. I'm Renaldi, and I'm going to be giving the talk, Hacking Those Relations, Holding an Effective Online Hackathon. So without further ado, we'll get straight into it. So before we start, I'd like to tell a bit about myself as well. So I'm a 10 times AWS and 2 times Azure certified, and my personal field of interest is mostly within penetration testing, intrusion, security-based related practices, and architecting solutions. And on the side, I run meetups, mostly in regards to meetups that involve dealing with new technology, discussing new technology. I also run hackathons as well regularly. I run both internal and external hackathons. One of the big external hackathons that I've hosted includes HackerNest Fish Hackathon 2018, one that I run back in Jakarta. And I do TED Talks, and I'm a VR tech enthusiast. I've been doing tech talks and related talks in regards to various areas in the industry for the past 4 years. And I've always loved doing it and sharing my work with the community. And I'm also the founder and developer advocate at GReS Studio. So, of course, the first point of order of this session, the problem everyone wants to ask, why are we going online? And of course, as evidenced by one of these pictures, you can already tell, yep, definitely, it's because of the whole COVID-19 ordeal. And it should no longer come to a surprise for most people that we are going through this, because due to lockdowns and restrictions, we no longer are able to host hackathons the way we used to. Even after these whole lockdowns end, it's no guarantee as well that we may definitely go directly straight to a life back to normal hackathons. And essentially, this is going to be one of the biggest challenges that we're going to face moving forward. Aside from that, hackathons in general are also found to be quite effective, surprisingly, online. Many people often think that hackathons are not as genuine if they're not hosted face-to-face, because they lack that face-to-face interaction, right? So what good could possibly come out of online hackathons? And that today is what I'm going to be talking about. And essentially, going to be convincing and essentially getting you to be able to host effective online hackathons, as many of the successful hackathons online that have already hosted online have done before. There are 3 main factors that we always need to talk about when we consider online hackathons: engagement, presentation, and time frame. Start off with, engagement is always a must. And in face-to-face hackathons, we've always had it by continually engaging with people that are involved in our hackathon, our stakeholders. This involves people who are participating in the hackathon, our sponsors, people within the staff, and much more. Essentially, this is a big factor and issue when it comes to online hackathons, because many people say it lacks that genuine feel. However, we're able to overcome it. And I'm going to talk a bit about this in the upcoming few slides. And presentation. How do you want to present our hackathon online? How do you want to pitch it in a way that you're able to really bring out flavor in it and be able to put out the impact that you want to make with the hackathon? To be able to pitch it well, you need to be able to present your idea well and present what you want to target well. And of course, time frame. What is your time frame of this hackathon? Do you have any time constraints as to how long you want to spend being able to tackle this hackathon? And some statistics of hackathons. These are quite statistics that already lasted for quite some time. It's 2018 compared to 2016 hackathons. We've had a 63% increase in hackathons 2018 compared to 2016. And in 2018, there were 64% of the hackathons were public, and 34% of the hackathons were internal hackathons. So these are some fun statistics to actually see how hackathons have really grown over the years and as to why people are going for it so much. And here are the main differences and challenges between online and in-person hackathons. So in online hackathons, essentially, we require novel themes to prepare for, especially during this time. And for in-person hackathons, we may already have themes that may already be familiar. In online hackathons, we have a barrier of what we can do, essentially, by online communication. As many people have said, it isn't as genuine if we actually try to be able to communicate through, say, Zoom, for example, as compared to direct face-to-face communication. Well, in-person hackathons are communicated in a more easier fashion, essentially, and they're much more easier to facilitate. And we have a better access of resources to online hackathons, especially since we are doing it from the comfort of our own home. We can basically essentially access most resources from the internet and from many other places, essentially, and be able to walk here and there, essentially, when we need to. But when in-person hackathons, we essentially have a restriction of resources, mainly because we're constrained to a particular venue. And of course, and this is a plus point for online hackathons, venue, because essentially, when you use Zoom or any other video conferencing services, you essentially don't have to pay for a, say, per se venue, except if you, for example, use a Zoom subscription, of course. Well, of course, in in-person hackathons, we always have to be able to get a venue sponsor. We need to be able to plan for it, scout out one, and essentially have a sponsor team to go after that. And of course, that along with that comes lesser associated costs with online hackathons as compared to more associated costs with in-person hackathons, because we need to plan for food costs, and venue promotion costs, and etc. I mean, for online hackathons, you definitely don't have to consider that, except if you want to actually pay a bit for some snacks that you have to consume on your own, Cheetos or something like that. And how do we plan? Essentially, we always have to answer a few questions. Some of these questions include, what problem would you like to solve? What is your theme? As I mentioned in the previous slide as well before, the theme is always a very important thing. In online hackathons, essentially, we need to be able to decide on a particular theme that we want to be able to tackle. We need to be able to tackle themes that we know would definitely be novel and solving a particular problem with a given impact. As companies currently are already working from home and currently already adapting to the current structure, people need a particular hackathon. The need for a particular hackathon that is able to provide impact based on the current situation is more necessary than ever. We can't host hackathons randomly anymore and simply solve this particular problem because we believe it needs solving. We need to solve a problem that essentially falls within being able to make an impact within the situation of COVID-19 and to be able to contribute towards the company or say towards a particular hackathon's needs and goals and the organization's goals of whoever is hosting the hackathon. And of course, along with that comes, who do you want to target? Getting to know a target audience is very important, as that is understanding how you are able to market to them. And who do you want to partner up with? Comes along with that. And how do you want to establish an effective agenda for an online hackathon? And what metrics do we want to use to measure success? And understanding metrics is very important as well, as we want to be able to iteratively develop our system and be able to continually develop according to our needs. And here I'll introduce the acronym SCALE. If you read the description for my talk, you'll have already come across this. First off is scalability. And essentially, when we talk about scalability, I'm talking about being able to be flexible and scale your hackathon accordingly. How do you want to be able to easily navigate between understanding how big do you want a hackathon to be, or Do you want to be do you want the hackathon to be of a smaller scale according to your particular needs? Essentially, scalability needs to always be on the forefront of the mind. Creativity is another important thing. How do you want to keep things creative? How do you want to convince audience to be able to adapt a creative approach to online hackathons? We want to be able to put a more creative approach in online hackathons compared to in-person hackathons, because we want to still convince people and still prove to people that our hackathons are still able to really provide creative ideas. And that's why creativity is an idea that is stressed much more than ever before. Adaptability, because we want people to be able to adapt towards the situation, because essentially, given the COVID-19 situation, we need to be able to adapt more quickly than ever before to circumstances and different situations. We want people to be able to adapt to the current situation and be able to readily help them out as well, if need be. Because being able to do an online hackathon requires much more considerations, including making sure that all the attendees have a sufficiently powerful performing internet connection, and much more. Learn. We need to ensure that online hackathons are a place where people to continue learning from one another. And finally, energy. And I believe that I kind of stress energy enough, because I believe that energy is one of the most important things in an online hackathon. We need to be able to ensure that everyone's enthusiasm keeps ramping up, essentially, because we want that genuine feel from people. And we need to be able to craft strategies to be able to continually encourage people to really embody the goals and needs of the particular hackathon and really show their energy and passion in their development. Designing on a theme. This is a particularly big challenge at this time, because essentially themes that are relevant to what we currently already have, and we need to be able to develop themes that do address particular situations that we currently have. We need to be able to address situations that the company would like or the organization would like that is relevant currently. When we pitch to organizations, we need to understand how it can benefit the organization as a whole. And some themes of this include hacking COVID-19, which is one of the recurring things that I've seen currently. There are so many hackathons I've seen recently that try to address COVID-19, which is a great thing, especially because this is due to companies wanting to be able to really get more people hands-on on being able to develop solutions for COVID-19 and the working from home culture. And of course, work from home communication solutions, because it is quite a big issue as well at the moment. We need to be able to design more efficient communication solutions, and of course, enhance medical and emergency responses for a particular hackathon topic. And of course, while you do this, understand who your target audience is. Are you targeting someone who is currently, are you targeting an organization who is currently needing a work from home solution? Or are you targeting someone who can find benefit within COVID-19 situations and essentially being able to develop solutions for them? Essentially, that's what I mean by targeting, understanding your target audience and which team would bring value to you. And of course, you need to choose the right tools for the job. Just some example tools of how we've shifted. So this is some samples of how we, for example, use Zoom as the main communication tool and GitLab as a particular repository tool, and Slack as a communication tool, and AWS as a cloud tool. And essentially, we've seen these tools ramp up over, the usage of these tools ramp up over since COVID, the whole COVID situation started. So essentially, these tools are getting more and more imperative towards online hackathons as well. And it definitely is good to have them as tools for the job. And it's imperative to be able to experiment and see which tools fit you. And of course, establish connection with partners, which is essentially one of the forefront topics in online hackathons. When we talk about partners, we need to be able to ensure that they are at the core of the hackathon, because essentially they and participants go hand in hand. There are people who are supporting us. So there are 3 points that I can put to the suggestion for online hackathons. And for online hackathons, if you've already participated in one recently, you may have seen that some sponsors have specialized breakout rooms, which is what we did as well for one of our online hackathons that we did recently. We essentially provided exclusive features that form a specialized breakout rooms, and that's in the context of Zoom, because we essentially want them to be able to have a private room essentially to communicate with one another, and we need to show that we care about them essentially. And because one of the biggest challenges for sponsors as well is as to how they can really get positive leads in their case as well. Because if everyone's jammed into one giant group chat, it essentially doesn't work out as well as how we would want them to feel as a sponsor. So that's just one approach that we can take. And of course, digital media, which is also a face-to-face hackathon approach, but it's gotten more important than ever now. And of course, continuing partnership opportunities is more important as well, very important as well. And creating impact for public hackathons is always another big topic, because we want to be able to follow up with partners and essentially get them to follow up towards the end solutions that are created. We want them to be able to put the solutions out towards the open source community and really see it benefit people. We want to be able to see a hackathon that can generate an impact in the community, especially due to the situation now, being that the lockdown is in place, and we want there to be continuing support essentially and communications for participants. And we want our topics essentially to create an impact and really encourage our companies and participants to be able to embody that as well alongside that. Because if we're able to really show that we really do care about a particular topic and that we want to create a particular impact that can really change people's lives, especially because COVID affects everyone, for example. Taking COVID as a topic, for example, we could definitely create an impact that could really target people well and provide the support that they need. And for private hackathons, it's an even more specific target audience, I'd say. We definitely need to be able to target solutions that can implement as end solutions towards the business. We need to be able to pitch it within the business and pitch it by addressing how it tackles new challenges that we face from a new normal. As I mentioned before, for example, such as being able to tackle work from home communication issues, or being able to encourage better ways of being able to develop code together and all that. And how to, for example, how to be able to simulate office life better and work from home situations. And of course, plan recurring sessions to generate creativity in online discussions, because in private hackathons, we shouldn't only take it as a one-time thing. It should be something that recurs, because we want to be able to create this culture of continued innovation and continued responsibility within the company. And measuring the metrics of success. We can measure the metrics of success by asking questions first, such as how many leads have I generated in terms of partners? How about attendees? Sponsors? Another question might be, how has this contributed to the issue in the global community? If it's a private hackathon, how has it contributed to the dynamics of our new way of working? Are the values of the organization still maintained well within the hackathon? How do the attendees and partners feel about this way of hosting? And for example, this can be done through feedback forms. These are all questions that we need to ask ourselves throughout the running of the hackathon, because we want to be able to continually improve and generate better leads according to what we have progressed, because it's a new ground for everyone essentially, especially for people who've previously hosted face-to-face hackathons. People will definitely find this as very new ground, despite it still being a hackathon. And essentially, we want to be able to develop that architecture, that culture of improvement, continued improvement, and find how it has been able to really change your way of working, for example, in a private hackathon, or if you've actually managed to successfully create an impact for future hackathons to continue on. And of course, when you start establishing an agenda, you need to consider stuff such as don't go overboard with holding it in a single day. being able to plan it accordingly. Schedule seminars, for example, to keep people informed as to keep people on the same page. Consider international participants when considering schedule events. Consider key events such as for example, the winner announcement, get-to-know sessions, seminars. Schedule this according to considering that people are not always ready at every particular zone. People have different time zones at this moment, and we need to be able to consider that. And of course, allocate team members in international locations if it is an international hackathon. And of course, we have the issue of mentoring. We need to be able to recruit mentors relative to issues being solved and provide mentors with training given the chosen software, specify mentor check-in times with teams. And we need to be ready to also provide a separate mentor refreshment lounge with breakout rooms as well, if necessary. Because mentors are also part of the center in essentially every hackathon. And when marketing the hackathon, such that we need to be able to optimize marketing by making sure that community partners are happy with us as well, and also through them as well. And listing on related platforms, ensuring that they are really out there. And this has become more important than ever, such as hackathon.com, partners with to issue you're trying to solve, and assigning a few TD members to be able to continue monitoring and outreach. And of course, establish effective relations on D-Day, such as with speedrunning and breakout rooms. Get people to ask questions that can really get them to talk with each other, such as what their passion is or how they feel about the hackathon. Provide seminar sessions, as I mentioned before, to be able to get people on the same ground with you on the hackathon, and allocate team members to different breakout rooms to ensure that all is going well. And to wrap up, hosting online hackathons can be challenging at the start, but like in-person hackathons, they have their own merits. Well, in this example, for example, costs, since like I mentioned before, we don't need to pay for food costs or such, or venue costs. Choose the right topics, right partners, right target audience, and right tools, and you should be good to go. And plan and experiment with multiple strategies, as nothing beats direct experience, because that's the way you learn, from iterative approaches to be able to continually improve based on your previous experiences. First time may not always run right, but you can use that experience to build on the whole system. And of course, most important thing, have fun through the process. You want to be able to create an impact, so you yourself need to have fun as well alongside the team. And that's all for me. Thank you. And I'm happy to, since it's the end of the session, and I think that I've run out of time, I'm happy to answer any questions that may come as well through either my Twitter or you can click the LinkedIn as well. And I'm happy to pick on any questions.
Thank you, Renaldi. So I have a question. So can you hear you? Can I hear you?
Yep, I can hear you.
So I understand so how to make a hackathon and KPI so using tool very well. So how do you think hackathons will evolve in the future?
I do think that that's a great question, Odesho, and I do think that it's a very interesting topic because, as I mentioned before, hackathons going towards the future, I don't think that we'll be deviating from this new normal, returning to normal from this new normal very soon. We'll be seeing still restrictions in place. We'll be seeing, because this is going to take quite a time, and we can see this clearly through countries still implementing a work from home culture everywhere, and many companies are still implementing it, especially the big ones. They're preparing for at least to take up to, I think, next year, mid of next year. I think many companies are preparing for that. So I think it's going to stay for some time. But towards the future, I think we'll be seeing a lot more online hackathons being hosted because of this in place. And over time, I think people will really start to also see the beauty in being able to host online hackathons and really also acclimate to its advantages, such as in regards to it being able to be more flexible, cost efficient. So I think we'll definitely be seeing more of this. So it's definitely a topic that we'll see be discussed more towards the future. And with more experience that people gain, more that hackathon people, organizers gain, we'll be definitely seeing more insights about hackathons, and we'll be seeing much more online hackathons be hosted.
Great answer. So I'm looking forward to join hackathon more and more in the future. Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you, Adesho.
Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, that's thank you, Renaldi. It was a great session.